Call the meeting to order. Stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Carberry? Here. Commissioner Connell?
Here.
Commissioner Landstrom is excused. Commissioner Layton? Here. Commissioner tonight?
Here.
Commissioner Irons?
Here.
And Commissioner Breezy?
Here. Thank you. First order of business is going to be election of officers for the new year. First up will be the position of chair. Do we have any discussion or if someone to do a motion to?
I motion that we keep them the same,
I said that. Chair and vice chair.
chair and vice chair.
Just for the record, the chair is Zach Breezy, and the vice chair is Sam Myers.
Sam Myers, yes, vice chair. Okay, there's a motion to retain the current chair and vice chair. So discussion.
Commissioner Connell seconded that.
Oh, we do something.
Yeah.
That's true. So call her a vote, I guess, would be next.
So Commissioner Carberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Layton?
Yes.
Commissioner tonight?
Yes.
Commissioner Irons?
Yes.
And Commissioner Breezy?
Yes. Okay, that out of the way, we approved previous minutes from December 20th meeting. So we can just read the minutes.
So there was, when these went out for the January meeting, I believe it was Commissioner Irons identified that we had somebody identified as making a motion or voting and they weren't there. And so we have corrected that error. So these are corrected from what you saw in January. It has that minor change to it.
Would you like to make a motion to accept the minutes, or are there any changes? Additional changes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the December 20th meeting, 2023.
Motion on the floor, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second to accept the December 20th meeting minutes with the one correction. You vote, please.
Commissioner Carberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Layton?
Yes.
Commissioner tonight?
Yes.
Commissioner Irons?
Yes.
And Commissioner Breezy?
Yes. The next order of business is public hearings. We have two. Excuse me. This public hearing on site design review RVW 3-000002 is called to order. Unity Partners LLC and Willowfork Investment LLC owners. The subject property is described as tax lot 1600, assessors map 4125 East 09CC. And is zoned tourist commercial sub-district. The request to approve a hotel, restaurant, and a short stay recreational vehicle RV park. Criteria found in the Boardman Development Code, Chapter 2.2, Commercial District, Chapter 4.2, Development Review and Site Design Review, Section 4.2.600, Approval Criteria, and provisions within Chapter 3, Design Standards is being processed as a Type 3 decision. Public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff report, public testimony in the following order. Applicant, any testimony in support of the application, any testimony opposing the application, any neutral testimony, and then any applicant for the vote, if any. Then we'll close the public testimony. After the record is closed for testimony, no other testimony will be heard from anyone unless the planning commission has a specific question. Planning commission may ask questions of staff, after which the planning commission will discuss the matter and make a decision. The planning commission may make a final decision tonight, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain in the future. If the matter is continued, this will be the only notice of that date time that you will receive. For testimony, if you wish to speak, please fill out a testimony form and submit it to the associate planner. I will recognize those people wishing to speak. Any questions should be addressed through me. Please state both your name and address for the record when you come to the podium, as the hearing is being recorded. Please keep testimony concise and to the point. Testimony should be on the action under consideration and address the substantive criteria. The criteria that apply to the decision are listed in the staff report. Testimony on other issues will be rejected and not considered by the planning commission. Failure to raise an issue in sufficient detail to allow the planning commission and the parties the ability to respond to the issue prohibits an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals or LUBA based on that issue. Similarly, failure to raise constitutional or other issues regarding any condition of approval in sufficient detail to allow the planning commission to respond to the issue prohibits a lawsuit in the circuit court on that basis. Now I ask the members of the planning commission to disclose any ex parte contacts, bias, or conflicts of interest. Please indicate the nature and the extent of the ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest. Indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. Hearing none. Does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the planning commissioner's impartiality? Hearing none. Planning official Carla McLean, you have staff report for us.
Perfect, so, I don't want to consume a lot of time restating what we stated last time, so I'm gonna say that there are some changes to the staff report since the last meeting, but not significant, and you probably can't tell, because you have a black and white version. Not a colored version, so I'll get out a colored version so I can tell you what's different. Just on the first page, all I did was say under the header that it's been amended as of February 14th. On the second page, under cover criteria 1, there's a new paragraph that basically states, prior to the conclusion of the December Planning Commission public hearing, the applicant requested a continuance and has subsequently provided an updated narrative with more detail around the short stay RV park, as well as another proposed layout. The amended layout shows Southwest First Street developed between the hotel and restaurant on one side and the RV park on the other. Staff suggests that both layouts be considered with the plan layout dependent upon infrastructure and other inputs prior to development. In other words, tonight, don't dictate which development, just, if you've got concerns or questions with either one, let us know what those are. So we can address those as we move to that development status, but to leave both available on the table. Because honestly, for both the developer and the city, I don't know which one is the better option until we kind of check some of those infrastructure boxes and things that will happen as we move deeper into the development process. The other changes, there's a couple changes on page 3 of the staff report. One is just kind of fixing some lacking commentary in the staff report. Near the top, the following, under number 4 at the very top, we added the sentence, the following address the various chapter 3 provisions that staff have deemed applicable. On that same page 3 under F, we did identify the second paragraph under F, we did add that says that the alternative site plan would retain single access points to the RV park, but access to the hotel and restaurant are less clear. Mostly because we don't have the street going to the north. We don't have Front Street going further. In the original site plan, there were 2 access points to the restaurant area off of front and then one into the hotel. I think we generally have a very similar access pattern. It's just that rather than coming off the front for the hotel and the hotel and the restaurant, the access is coming off the future southwest first, or southwest first, right? It might quad sometimes, go in my head. So, while important is not imperative at this point in time, we know that they're gonna have a certain number of accesses. And where those will have to be spaced based on the standards in the code. So there will be access points. I suspect that we will see one access retained for the RV park and at least 3 accesses for the restaurant and the hotel. Where exactly those are gonna be on Southwest First, I don't know. And I think that's gonna be dependent upon the development and how the frontage of the street works. Again, we're just listing that they're gonna have to get access permits for each of those, and they have to meet the spacing standards that are required in the development code. Not a lot of other changes after that until you get, fairways through, not much change between last hearing. And now, I guess that was December, gosh, it was December, we didn't actually have a hearing last month. And I guess it was 2 months ago, so you might be as foggy as I am. So when you get to near the end, when you get to page 13 of the 50-foot staff report, there's actually a fair amount that's been added. The second half of page 13 and the top half of page 14. And the biggest part, I think, of the decision here tonight, I mean, again, at the hearing, I think there was agreement and support for the hotel and the restaurant. It was really the RV park that raised questions and concerns. So they really amended their narrative and updated their narrative to address those. And so I basically just kind of paid for their narrative. So in their amended narrative, they do say the following: in response to concerns voiced at the last hearing, the applicant wishes to expand the recreational vehicle resort narrative to allay concerns that this RV resort will fall into disrepair or any kind of disrepute with citizens of Boardman. The process involved in planning this RV resort has required a well-defined development strategy with an initial concept crucial to ensuring that the RV resort will be first class. The site has been designed for the best use of infrastructure, amenities, and landscaping. There will be operations and management plans to ensure efficient and effective service and customer satisfaction. And they go on to somewhat define short stays as being typically 1 day, but up to 3 or 4 days. For which they're most likely probably east to west on I-84 and need a night or 2 of rest. They would also like to attract travelers to the RV resort as a relaxing destination. It has access to recreational opportunities, so on and so forth. And then they actually identified and incorporated into their narrative a list of the amenities that would be available at the RV resort as they're calling it. And our response to that was the applicant has worked to address the concerns raised by the planning commission, and staff have added a condition of approval related to operations. So again, the rest of it there is consistent with the previous. So when you look at the actual conditions of approval that start on page 15, they're all the same. There are 19 conditions of approval that are applicable to the entire development. We added condition of approval 20. And it says to operate the RV park consistent with the application narrative to allow ownership of recreational vehicles 10 years old or newer. And where that 10 years old or newer comes from is their narrative. I mean, it's the last, excuse me, coffee is things time. The last item in their list, their bulleted list, would be that only recreational vehicles newer than 10 years old will be allowed to the resort. So I think they're really trying to address the concerns that were raised by the planning commission, and the actual developer is here tonight and can answer any further questions that you might have about them. So that's going to conclude my staff report unless there's any questions of staff. Otherwise, I just encourage you to move into the, ask the applicant the questions you have as well.
The other question I have for you is, so I see the traffic study included we know the last numbers for the trucks that are done on Main Street?
You mean trips on Main Street?
Yeah.
So we've had different numbers as high as 8,000 trips per day. So we should have, March or April, we should have something. Yeah, I would be more, I would like to be more, we should have something in front of the planning commission, for an activity that will better define and identify what those trips are. But they've been kind of all over, and they kind of go up and down. We did some refinement of some numbers and have some things around the school relative to things on the north side of the freeway. It's a growing number, and again, it's dependent upon a lot of activities. When the numbers kind of were elevated for a while because of the construction of the Amazon site, and those have, it's kind of dropped because of that, but I don't know about you all, but I get, when I come into town, I get stopped at the, depending on the time of day, I come in, I said the freeway, things change in like a few minutes to get in.
We're not on these days.
Yes, I heard that. Mhm.
Is there any additional correspondence beyond what was included in the staff report?
No, there's not been, we've not received any comment or anything since. I guess I should say we did amend the attachment to, we replaced the previous narrative with the updated narrative. And then you've got, both site plans now. You've got the vicinity map, the, existing conditions map, and then you've got the original site plan and then the amended site plan that just shows the road moved. And then again, there are traffic generation letters in here, and there is a condition that they have to submit a complete traffic impact analysis before we can move to development as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the applicant may now present testimony.
Sorry, my first time here, so just right here. Oh, I was-
Use the microphone. Yeah, we have an online audience. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you state your name for the record too?
Yes,
Is it on, you know, man? What is your leader? Oh, she's here. Yeah.
There.
I gotta go.
yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Pardeep Singh and I'm with, Union Partners. So today we're here, to address the concern that, the commissioners had in the last meeting in December. So I think everybody was on board with the hotel and the restaurant. There was some concern with the RV park. And I think, I was not present here, but I was actually on the Zoom last time. So one of the concerns I had was, related to the last owner of the property, Mr. David. Is he somehow involved in this whole venture? So I want to clarify that, he's not related to us, we're totally different group. We're not going to do what he's doing there, and, we're going to bring a product that's, city will be proud of. I would like to present, our website here, where you can see, what our group is about and, what other projects we're doing in the nearby cities. Excuse me. So that's our website, unionpartners.info. So right now we have this project, which we're calling the Silverwood Hotel and RV Resort. And then we have a manufactured home park here in the city of Boardman, on New Zealand. And then we have another property on Columbia Lane, which we will develop as a multifamily. And then we have a urban multifamily project. And then we're building a C-store in Mattawa. We have a site in West Richland, where we're doing C-store, assisted living facility, and 55 health community. And then we have a project in Grandview, which, we're coordinating with, Port of Grandview. We're doing the Travel Centers of America. It's about 22-acre truck stop that we're building over there. And then, there's additional 35 acres, in Port of Grandview land as well, which will be commercial, down the road. So the reason we're discussing this here is just to give you idea of who we are, and we're definitely not related to David at all. So a totally different group. Then there was other concern, how this RV park will work and operate, down the road in the future, if we're operating or somebody else operating. So we added 2 conditions, to make it like, this is really true an RV resort. So we are making the stay down to 3 or 4 days, so that will be limited, so that will be the condition. And then the other part is, any RV older than 10 years will not be allowed on the property. So that addressed the concern that this is truly going to be an RV resort. It's not going to be like anybody come in here and stay for 2 months, 3 months. That's not what it's gonna be. So we're building a lot of amenities as well in this park. And we are in discussion with KOA to see if we can get their franchise here rather than operating out of private. But I'm not sure where that at, but that's a standard that we're bringing into this RV resort. I mean, there's gonna be laundry, there's gonna be dog park, there's going to be offset parkings, there's going to be a little store for the RV park as well. So there's a lot of things that, and you can just see from there, we're not gonna run down this place and have it, bad spot for the city right in front of the Freeman. As far as the hotel goes, I can tell you today, again, it's not going to be any low scale brand. It's either going to be a Hilton or Marriott. I think 70% chance it will be Hilton brand, 30% chance it will be a Marriott brand here in the city. So purposely for us, I mean, we're not gonna spend $60 million on a hotel and then have RV park take that value down. So RV park is going to be an equal standard as the hotel, because, if there is a shady place right next to a hotel, our value goes down. And as far as the restaurant goes, right now, we're having a conversation with the diner, like we have a Denny's and IHOP. We're also bringing the Denny's into the Grandview, so most likely they will be the one coming in here in the restaurant spot. If we go into the future side of it, if you have the plans right in front of you, the back side of this property, we have, I think, additional 4 acres left. And our plan is to bring some retail space, because, obviously talking to the city staff and everybody else, city really needs some retail space. So we're going to have a retail space in the back side of the property. So our idea is that our hotel clients and the RV clients will support that retail business. So we want to pull people from the freeway rather than they going to Harveston and go over there. We want them to stop here in the Boardman, spend money in the city and generate revenue for the city and provide employment. So that's our goal, that's our vision. And we're personally here, 3 of us, to get your blessing to get this park approved and so we can all move forward. And currently our goal is, we've got a design team in-house. So our goal is to get all this thing wrapped up by the end of this year, if all goes well, and then we'll get into the building part of the hotel right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're ready for any questions you may have.
Did you determine whether, it says in here that you'll have 2 employees on site, each day? Will they be the ones doing the checking in and checking out? So you're not gonna rely on the hotel to accept that responsibility?
No, it will be separate RV employees, so they'll be, running the little store and the laundry service as well, plus keeping up with the bulk.
Thanks.
Do you have an estimate on the total number of jobs this is gonna create pre and post construction?
Post-construction, it will be in the RV park. We're thinking about, 6 jobs that will just be related to the RV resorts. The hotel rents about 14 to 20 people, just depends on occupancy. And then the restaurant, if it's a Denny's, we're probably looking at around 20 people.
And did you, I apologize, I didn't see it. Was there an ETA on the traffic study? Is that you were looking to get that done?
So we did the traffic, not a complete study, and we have our numbers right now. I guess once we move forward, then we will do the complete traffic impact analysis. The other part I think beneficial for the city is if this project do move forward, it allows the city an opportunity to complete the loop on that side of the main street. But if this project doesn't move forward, then we only have a main street going in. But if we move forward, we're actually working with the city to install some of the improvements. And the part of the changing the layout was also that we're working with the city, because there was a weird lag comes in because where the city needs to connect back to the Oregon Trail Road. So we're working with the city to make that happen. And that connects with our future goal, which is the retail center, where we can connect off of Main Street as well. So there could be the front street, going west. There could be another street in the middle between the Oregon Trail and the front street, right in front of the retail center, right where the overhead power cables are. So right by there, there'll probably be another street that's going into the retail center. So this project, yes, we do understand brings traffic, but at the same time will address the traffic issue by providing the infrastructure.
Anyone have any additional questions?
My question, I'm not sure if it's a great question or not, but you state that it's going to be a 3 or 4 day stay. How do you plan to mitigate somebody just leaving and then coming back the next day?
I mean, we're charging them per day, right? So if they're coming in, they're leaving, they're about to come back again, that's fine with us. But it's not going to be like somebody comes in 4 days, they goes out for 2 hours, come back, try to go around that policy. No, that's not what it's gonna be. Plus, the way we're thinking is going to be high-end, resort, so it's not going to be something cheap that people wanna come in, back and forth all the time. It's basically people traveling on I-84 going further down, they wanna have a nice spot to stay. Those are our target customers. Yeah.
Any questions from our Zoom audience? Members? I should say commissioners.
Excuse me. Can you guys hear me? This is Alejandra. I'm on Zoom. I have a question.
I'm sorry. Alejandra, I apologize. We'll have, there's questions for commissioners at this time. Just put it that way.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Zach, this is Sam. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Okay. I don't think we have any more questions for you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application?
Anyone want to speak in favor?
Anyone from Zoom want to speak in favor of the application? Oh, I'm sorry.
You want me to sign the deal? You can go ahead and leave right now. I'll be late, they don't.
Just state your name so the Zoom
They'll
audience.
turn on the light.
Oh, did you turn it off?
I'll turn it off. Hello? Hello? Yes.
Yep, you're good.
Plan on doing this, but, my name's Lee Dawkins. I've worked with this, family for some time and, in their endeavors. In different towns, in 3 different towns, I've seen nothing but, positive things. And if they know, if they thought that they were doing something, they would correct it immediately. So working with them has been a pleasure. I have a real estate firm here in development over the years in Boardman and Laurel County. And, it's, you know, you wait in a small town, you sort of, you do your planning and then you wait. And you do the best you can, but time changes, economics change, and you know, it's a tough issue to follow for a planner like Carla to match it all up. So it doesn't always come at the right time or the wrong time, I guess, but this could serve our community. It's a growing industry, the RV industry. They're just everywhere now I go, and I can't see too much of a down thing unless you don't want any growth at all. That's thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application? Okay. Is there anyone that wishes to speak against the application?
I guess we didn't hear any more from the park, huh?
No.
Oh.
Inquire as to Alejandra's, interest.
Alejandra, I see your hand is raised. Do you have an inquiry, and can you tell us the nature?
Yeah, I just had a question for the firm. I see that they have 2 projects in the Boardman area. And so, like Lee mentioned, I've been in this community for a very long time. So I just wanted to know, as a small business owners, how will that, how big of an impact will that put on them? How will that impact the small business owners of the community?
And address for the record.
Yeah, Alejandra, can you state your full name and your address, please, for the recording?
My name's Alejandra Pacheco, and I live at 70017 Olive Lane, but I have property in town within city limits, and that's why you guys sent me a letter regarding this meeting tonight.
Okay, thank you.
They can respond as part of the rebuttal.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just table that until we get to just a couple more steps. Thank you, Alejandra. We'll get to that question momentarily. Do we have any neutral testimony? Okay, and it was Mr. Sunny. What is it? Hardy. Hardy?
Yes.
Would you mind coming to the microphone and addressing the question? And Alejandra, if I can paraphrase, you're asking what the impact would be to other businesses in the area?
Correct.
Okay, was there any specific impact you were asking about? Or just in general?
I'm thinking more specifically to like the food industry with our small business owners that we have locally here. So that was my main concern. I know they talked about bringing in the Marriott as part of the hotel. That's a very high-end hotel. Um, which could also impact other businesses, but mainly like the food industry, which is most of us know most of the owners within the city of who owns what business, and so just wondering if anybody had done any impact on them.
Thank you.
Yes, and so I would say, I think definitely here, I would say that, bringing these, two projects in the city will increase the food sales, because right now, if the people are not staying in Boardman, they're going to Hermiston, right? But if we can have these people stay in Boardman, they will have to have a dinner, lunch, or whatever they need. And, there is no restaurant going to be inside the hotel, so those are the clients who will be coming over to local, food vendors or restaurants to eat or to do anything. So that will bring in additional business. And when we look at RV park, you're not looking at just one person coming in, you're generally having a family, right? And a lot of the kids, when they're going to their sport leagues, families kind of go out of town in RV. And then those are the people coming in. So I think, as far as food business goes, we are bringing in additional traffic to the town. For example, when this sleep-in came in, all the people that are staying with the sleep-in, they're not eating inside sleep-in, they're always going out, whatever the amenities that the cities have, that's what they're using. And that's our goal, is to bring those people in town, spend money, generate revenue for the city, and provide it for the city.
My question now is for the city. With the additional people coming in, has there been anything, I understand that they did their impact study and everything. I have not seen it. But I mean, we're looking at having more traffic than we already have. I don't know if, for me, driving in has been a little more challenging. It's getting used to a different type of driving within the city. We don't have any city lights. Are we thinking about upgrading our city to bringing in some street lights, traffic lights? Are we thinking about additional police officers? Are we going to be looking at that? How much will that? What was that part of the impact study that I didn't see for security?
So I'll take that one. There is a standard that requires an applicant to do an economic impact study. There is a requirement that they do a traffic impact study. And while we know they're going to generate additional traffic and trips, the current flow of traffic on the south side of Main Street is different than the traffic flow on the north side of Main Street. We do have an interchange area management plan for the Main Street interchange. It was adopted in 2009. It's still in place and effective, and they do have to comply with the requirements of that. You asked about a light or other traffic control devices. Unrelated to this project, and I want to be very clear, it is unrelated to this project. The city is pursuing a light, and that light is going to be at Boardman Avenue in Maine. And that project will be coming before the planning commission in March or April for a conversation, as well as a conversation with the joint business owners and other members of the community. It's going to be a big change, and we recognize that. But again, I want to be really clear that the determination for that light is not related to this project. It doesn't appear that the trips for this project would trigger a requirement for signalization. It will require that the applicant work with the city to develop the loop roads that are required as part of the interchange area management plan, specifically in the southwest quadrant of the Main Street interchange. So Oregon Trail Boulevard currently goes to the east. It will eventually also go to the west. You'll notice this summer and fall, we're going to be doing a road project to improve on the east side both front, southeast front, as well as install and complete the connections from front to, Oregon Trail Boulevard by adding a southeast first. This project will improve front, continue front to a certain degree, and then allow the construction and connection to Oregon Trail, as well as the construction of Oregon Trail to do that loop on that side. So, we should have these in the chat saying, that grab them and, so yeah, there will be some road improvements that are attached to this project. That will be, the city has a lot of future road projects kind of in the queue, things we know we need to do. And sometimes we think we're gonna get to South Main. But then we have developers who come in who tell us they want to develop a hotel and a restaurant and a church RV park, and all of a sudden our focus needs to shift to be able to complete the road projects that are facilitated by and beneficial to the community based on that development. So, it's how you as a community kind of juggle those requirements and what those projects might be. So I hope I'm answering your question, Ms. Pacheco. But again, I want to be really clear, the light project that is on the radar screen is not related to this project. And I don't anticipate this project would trigger a light in and of itself. So part of what's going to happen as the light goes in on Boardman and Main is you're going to see front streets become right in, right out on the north side. And as we construct and finish the loop roads on the south side, the same thing will happen to the front streets that connect to Main. Those will also become right in, right out only intersections. And that's already envisioned in the interchange area management plan that's been adopted for Main Street. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully it answers any questions that the commission may have as well. I'm happy to tell deeper, but I think I hit the highlights of all of those things that are happening.
Thank you. Is there any last neutral testimony? Hearing none. Does the applicant wish to provide rebuttal for anything?
Where'd that come from?
There is a comment on the chat. It says, from Tony, I am all for the hotel and restaurant, but I really do not want to see an RV park right off the front street with water and sewer hookup and laundry. It sounds like it will be set up for long term. How are we assured it will not be?
So staff will respond to that as well. Again, there's conditions that have been added to the staff report itself, specifically related to that. That condition states, operate the RV park consistent with the application narrative to allow only short-term stay of recreational vehicles 10 years old or newer. So those were statements that the applicant made. And the condition simply holds them to that. So it's a condition of operation.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, the public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed. Staff, do you need to respond to questions that you raised?
I think that we've responded to all the things that have been raised to this point. Happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Don't have any questions for staff? No. Greg or Sam? Any questions for Carla?
No, sir.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, is there any discussion by the planning commission?
Does this state somewhere in the report, and I'm sorry that if it does, I'm asking a redundant question, and then looking, referring to the picture that's in the report, does it state where the RV park portion of
The
the?
next page.
Yeah, there's two layouts that follow that. The first one is an existing conditions map. And then there's two that show the layout, so,
They're just kind of different viewpoints.
yeah, right.
This part is the RV room. So the RV part is right here. That's my only concern. Is the first thing you see.
Which one is the current one?
So the first one you had, Front Street was, so in the packet, in the order. You have the existing conditions map, and then the first one is the first layout that they did. And that just shows the street on the west side. Front Street going all the way across, so the RV park is on the east side of the hotel and the restaurant. I mean, the layout has not changed. The RV park is still on the east side.
Okay.
The hotel and the restaurant are still on the west side. It's just where's the road? Is the road on the west side or is the road between the two?
Oh.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, I worry about our park down at the marina, but I don't worry about it so to the point of not accepting this other stuff, because I think it's, the hotel and the restaurant is well worth it. If we gotta, I mean, I wish George was here, but he's not. So I'm gonna assume that he doesn't have any other concerns. It's the only way I can take it. So if he doesn't, I just don't want that to get hit too bad, but we've got to move up and onward, so.
And see, the way I look at it is, I get that the RV park right off the freeway is a sticking point for some. But the RV park at the marina is always full in the summer. So we need to do something to accommodate those travelers coming through when the RV park is full, especially, 4th of July, Memorial Day weekend, things like that, to bring in these temporary residents, if you will. So I don't have a problem with it. At some point, the front streets are going to have to be developed with something, and we may see it as quote unquote an eyesore, but at some point they're going to have to be developed with something. I'd rather see an RV park with standards that's been laid out. I like how the 10-year model is put out there, but I don't have any quarrels with this.
Would you be willing to plant more trees along Front Street to kind of hide the fact that it's an RV park? Because for me, when I go RVing, the last thing I want to see is the freeway or other cars. So is there a way to make it just a little more discreet and a little more private, not necessarily just for the citizens, but also for the people within the park? Because nobody wants to be in an RV in the middle of the city.
Sure, like I said, if we go with the franchise model like KOA, they definitely have those kind of requirements. And if we're going to build, let's say they don't give us a franchise from day one, right? But we're going to build it to some of those standards, so maybe in the future we can get it. Definitely we can consider that. There are some private, screening with trees between the, each, parking spot too. So we can definitely consider that part to have that separate off the street as well. And if I have to address one more, the thought that was, we having an RV park right on the freeway. I mean, if we have an RV park inside the town that nobody can see from the freeway, there's not gonna be enough business, right? And then the person, whoever's operating the RV park, he has to generate business, and he's going to bring in RVs that are staying there for long term. If it's a visibility right on the freeway, if you look at that corridor, basically, we have a rodeo inn right there. We will have, our hotel there, we will have this RV park that's basically, telling the travelers on I-84 that this town have the accommodation that they're looking for. So I think if we kind of look from that perspective, that this is for temporary residents coming into the town, and on the backside, there is a retail space for them to shop or go around the town, spend money on other.
Do you also have rights to that property to the south of it then? Where you're planning on for retail?
Yeah.
Just out of sheer curiosity, was there any thought of having the retail property on the northern side of that as opposed to the RV on the north side of that? Sheer curiosity.
Yeah, we thought about, different layouts. And again, like I said, if we put an RV park on the other side, then the town has a view. Plus, it's away from the freeway. So that was the reason to bring it up front. The retail side is going to serve the town. So like I said, there's probably gonna be another street that goes off Main, connect there, so retail will be right on the street. And RV park will have a connection through the loop to that retail side also.
Yeah, so I missed the last meeting. So I got up reading the minutes and the notes. It was interesting to me to read what was coming in. I very much agree with like Mr. Dawkins and some of your sentiment. I think a lot of this is sorely needed and there's a lot of growth that can happen in Boardman. The RV park, up front, commercial tourist was a kind of sideways glance. But I've been to like upscale RV parks and, I'm a fan personally. I think they can be very nice. I don't know, I'm very on the fence, but I think I'm probably leaning more towards not having any issues with it. I find it hard to find issues against it personally.
I guess my biggest issue is that we do need this development, we absolutely do need to grow our town. I just hate to see an RV park being in the center of our town. I would love to see development, I know that we need this space, but my idea of a small town, I'm new to this area, I've only been here not quite 3 years. I love the thought of this growing, and being a beautiful little town, not a stop all with the RV park is the first thing city pulled into Boardman. But I do agree, we need the growth, and we have to have growth, so I'm totally on the fence, just wish it was an RV park right in the middle of our town.
But I do think that just listen about the not making them too old and
Yeah.
it's, keeping the stay in a shorter term. So they did listen to a lot of the concerns that it's not going to be the Walmart parking lot. Kind of.
And we're not relying on a hotel to run it,
Yes.
that we don't even know what hotel it is yet. That was a big one.
When you said, you told them to that, what happens when they aren't told to it? What is is there like some kind of statute? Are they fined? Do they have so many?
So we have a code enforcement program. So if we found, all of a sudden, 14 employees had behavioral around them, we'd be knocking on their door and saying, hey, you're not in compliance with your permit. And there are a number of mechanisms through that, whether it be enforcement, it can be a revocation of their permit, which means they would close. That would kind of be a last resort, but from, we start by trying to just get them to comply. And then, you know, if that doesn't happen, then there's fines and there's revocation of permits.
Well, and if it's well known, if it's known when you pull in there to reserve or to pay for a spot, and it's known, it's stated that, you know, it's a 4-day maximum stay or whatever. Just not, I don't see a lot of people that are traveling to go somewhere for sporting events or for whatever the reason that you're traveling. I don't see those people wanting to put up a fight over that 3 or 4 days. They're gonna abide by it for the most part. Will we have contractors that wanna park their RVs there? Maybe just because it's closer to town, but there's also another RV park outside of town that has a lot of empty spaces.
Yeah.
That they're more than welcome, and there's a lot of contractors that stay out there.
Right.
And heard anything from those guys. So, if I pull into a place and it says 3-day maximum, I know that's that. It's time to go. You know, it's just like, you know, checkouts at 11. You call for a late checkout, you know, that's 1. And after that, you get charged another day. Or they're throwing you out because the room's taken already. It's that simple.
I guess another lens that I look through it as, there could be worse things in the middle of town.
Like a trailer park. My opinion. Sorry.
I'll let your imagination run wild, but there could be worse things in the middle of town.
I agree, it's like, concerned futuristically, it doesn't turn out the way you guys hoped it does, we don't get the revenue that we need, or the type of people utilizing it, will it become a trailer park? Because if they revoke your permits to use it as a short term, and it goes all into disuse, what does it become?
I'll answer that. I mean, there's 2 ways to look at that part, right? Like I said, the hotel that we're gonna build is probably going to be $16 million. If I have such a shady place right next to it, the value of that hotel will go down to like 12 or $10 million. Do I want to lose $4 million in a hotel, or should I just scrap the whole thing and start over with something else? And the answer is no, we won't let that happen. We'll probably have something else. If the business is not there, we'll just have something else come in and take that over. But according to the numbers that we have, I think business is there. I've been to the RV park on the other side. It's always full. There's one time there was 2 vacant spots, but every other time I went there, it's always been. So you need to look at, you know, financially how much money we are investing in the city. Obviously, we're looking for returns too, right? It's not free money. I don't think it's in our favor at all. And any person in a business or development knows that.
Well, and you can't just leave.
We can't just.
I mean, even if that failed, you can't just leave because you have another property out there that we've already discussed, the whatever it's called out there off of Coonsey and
Yeah.
that new out there. Plus you have others on Columbia and you have them over there, the other towns. It's not, I don't consider it to be a situation that we have to worry about I think you can't invest that much money and expect to just,
Yeah.
if it doesn't go right, then you adjust to it and make something else happen with that property. I believe. I mean, I'm not investing 16 million, but I would assume if I was, that it would be the case. I mean, we wouldn't let it fail for long,
Yes.
I would hope.
And you know, the backside of this RV park is the retail spot. So we're gonna make sure that people staying in the RV park are staying only for 3-4 days and they're following the rules, because we don't want to disturb the tenants in the retail center with the activities in the RV park. So we are kind of tied in this whole thing, that, you know, basically your concern will be our concern just because of what we have going on around the property. But, you know, anytime you travel, the first thing you're gonna look at is what's the reviews on the Google, right? You go in, if there is somebody putting up a review on our hotel site that there's an RV park and they're having these kind of issues, you know, that's costing us business. So we will not, I mean, that's in our best interest not to let that happen at all.
Any other points of discussion? Greg or Sam?
Well, I don't know I don't know if this is a discussion. I just have a comment on page 13 of 1621 is the internal document. So under C there, that's a huge run-on sentence and I don't know what it means. The planning official has determined that the request should move through the approval process by virtue of the type 3 process required for the hotel and restaurant, felt that any final decision on the short stay RV park should also be accomplished by the planning commission. I think there's, I just kind of got lost in the middle there. I think I know what it says, but maybe it needs to be reworked, that sentence.
You want to provide a suggestion and have it be a part of the motion, then it could be amended. Otherwise, it's a staff report, so you're either going to accept it as presented, or you need to make suggested changes.
It's fine with me if that makes sense to everybody else. That
And Greg, which section were you looking at specifically?
So it's fine.
This one,
The one
page
under
21.
C, we have BC.
And then it's under D, the written interpretation.
Well, it's right
and
up above D, the planning official. I think it just means that they're putting it in the short stay RV park should accompany the hotel and restaurant. But it's not the hotel and restaurant doesn't fill anything, like that sentence says. And it doesn't matter, it's just a grammar, punctuation issue. So it's fine, because that's kind of how we roll. That's why I think it means this is just going to go along with everything else. So, okay. Sorry I even brought it up.
Any other comments or things anyone would like to discuss? We had a discussion. It would be time to entertain a motion. If anyone would like to make a motion to accept, reject, accept with condition.
Make a motion to accept the site design review RVW 23-000002. And that's enough zeros.
I'll second.
Is that motion as it stands?
As is.
Okay. Sam, did I hear you second that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve site design review RVW 23-000002. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Trevor,
No.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Layton,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonight,
Yes.
Commissioner Irons,
Yes.
and Commissioner Breezy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
The discussion and comments.
The notice of decision will come out in the next few days.
Yeah.
Now we can get to the real work.
Okay, we have another public hearing. Public hearing on site design review RVW 24-000002 is called to order. Community Counseling Solutions is the one, I think, Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Subject property is described as tax lot 600 of assessors map 4 North 25 East 09 AD and zoned light industrial. This request is to approve a regional youth facility. Criteria found in the Boardman Development Code, chapter 22, commercial district, chapter 4.2, development review, site design review, 4.2.600, approval criteria, provisions of chapter 3, design standards, is a type 3 decision. I'm not going to go over the entire preamble that I did before. I would like to ask, is there anyone that wishes to disclose ex parte contact bias or conflicts of interest? And if so, can you please state what that is? Very none. Does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the planning commission's impartiality? Hearing none. Carla, your staff reports on this.
Absolutely. So, well, this one was not here just 2 months ago. You actually did, as the planning commission, consider a component of this, probably about 3 years ago. It's a project that's been on the books for a while. Community Counseling Solutions has been working to site this facility for a number of years. Funding is always, it can be a difficulty for these types of projects. They've probably got most of what they need at this point in time, probably never have enough. So again, there is a little bit of history there that there was a zoning permit application for it. It goes back to July of 21. What was in front of the planning commission was a variance for the fence, exceeding the height standards. Again, as we've been working through a number of things over the last couple of years, we're doing things a bit differently than we have in the past, and determined that this full facility, actually based on the a number of factors, should be in front of the planning commission. So the previous approval did eventually expire, and as it always happens, within weeks, I think, of it expiring, they were back and wanting to start again. So they made application. The staff report kind of goes through the various components. I have to say that the architecture and design team that's been working on behalf of Community Counseling Solutions did an excellent job. They made our job very easy because they just provided everything we needed. We did have a site team meeting for this. Gosh, was that just like last week? Just last week, we had wind waves and cascade natural gas in the room. We had the fire department. It was not heavily attended, but I think it was really good conversation. Our city engineer has reviewed this. We had a couple of questions. They were very prompt with their answers. Water and wastewater are both available adjacent to the site. We asked some questions about stormwater calculations, and again, the responses came very quickly. The fire marshal, of course, Mr. Boardman, always has a question or two, and he'll get another kind of supply when they get to the building permit process with Glenn McIntyre and his team. So they will have to, actually, we said, oh, by the way, you're gonna have to eventually apply for an access permit. They've done that already. There's really no applications left on the planning side for them to submit. They've all been submitted, and once this is done tonight, we can move forward. And as long as you grant their approval tonight, we'll be able to move through and issue all of those in the near term. There's a lot of standards here. Again, they met them all and they provided their applications. And the exception being the fence. And this is what came before you last time, and it's kind of the same thing again. So when you get to the end of the staff report, and again, I'm happy to get in any detail along the way as you want, but I'm really just trying to focus on, I think, the parts that are out of the ordinary here, and that is the variance. It is a 12-foot fence. The standard is usually 6 feet. But this is also housing juveniles between the ages of 7 and 11, and they can keep them inside. So 12 feet And the design of the fence is such that they should not be able to climb out. If they are climbing out, they're swinging or something. So, the attached, is the vicinity map, there's also a site map. We didn't attach the whole set, there's a lot of detail. There's 14 bedrooms in the facility, they're in 3 different wings. There's indoor and outdoor recreational opportunities, there's a classroom, there's a kitchen, there's staff there all the time. There'll also be, community counseling staff coming in and out. Yes, this will serve our own community, but this really is the only, I've learned, this will be the only facility like this serving this age group in the entire state of Oregon. And so we will probably see kids in here from all over the state that qualify and need the kind of help that CCF can provide to them. So, I'm not gonna say any more. I'm gonna let the applicant fill in any additional holes that you might have in the information. But, again, the concept was approved 3 years ago. We're really just kind of reevaluating it. You know, we recommend approval, and again, the variance is the thing that really kind of triggered the look. But even without the variance, the whole thing would be in front of you tonight for review.
Remember the conversation, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions, but I think the applicant's probably more well versed in any specifics you might have, and they have a website, a number of them. So,
And, no other correspondence on this?
no correspondence on this. Again, a good site team meeting. I think it's the shortest site team meeting we've ever had. It was 21 minutes.
Perfect time. Nice, okay, thank you. Do you want to present testimony? Just please state your name, for everyone on the Zoom call.
My name is Sean Cooper, with Canada Rochester. We're the design team that did all the plans, all the stuff for you. And then
I'm Matt Bergstrom, the Chief Operating Officer of Community Counseling Solutions. So, I can talk a little bit about this. It's been a project in the works for quite a while. We ran into funding issues with COVID and, rising costs of construction. We felt like we were at a good number. We just kind of never got ahead. And over the last year, we worked with some partners to generate enough funds. We're in a really good place moving forward as an agency. And, like Carla said, this is kind of a state of the art, very niche program that the state does not offer. And a lot of our youth in the state of Oregon that are receiving services are sent across state lines as far as Colorado, and there's some over the country to get services. And our goal is to work to keep kids in Oregon, to provide services and return them to home. We've done some very unique design things, as you can see in the plans, a reunification space, so families are reunifying with their children, how they're working together. It's gonna generate probably over 30 jobs in the community, from administrative to clinical to nursing to, as Carla mentioned, the classroom. So providing some educational activities. There's a gym, a stage, really kind of state of the art stuff that we're gonna be doing to help provide these services to these kids and keep them, ideally in Eastern Oregon, but in Oregon in general. So as far as the usage goes and all my conversations with the Department of Human Services and other funders throughout the state, they say there's never gonna be an empty bed. It's such a need right now in the state of Oregon to provide these services to these kids. And they're putting them in hotels and trying to get creative, and it's just not a reasonable solution to help our youth of today. So, really hopeful we can move forward with this project and make this impact here in Boardman.
So I can answer any questions related to the building or the applications. We really we work with like the fire department to make sure as much of those the questions were resolved beforehand. So, some of the plans, there's a big access out to the fire department, there's access points if any kind of emergency happen. And the fence variance is, because of the children, and I can answer any questions on that. It's more of because we want it to be a nice community, so there will be like a screening of shrubs around that fence to try to make it a little bit less impactful. And then that fence is also more of like, you see those basketball court kind of fences that are really nice, really tall. That's kind of the design we're going with. It's an anti-climb fence, so they can't really get out, but still that's kind of the motif we're trying to go for. The building's a lot, we're trying to make it fun for the kids, so there's those outdoor activities, there's indoor activities, like we've been stated before. If you have any questions on it, love to answer.
Yeah, what do you mean by anti-climb?
So, yeah, so basically, it's the way the wedding is small enough that they can't get their hands in there and really climb it.
Barbed wire at the top?
No barbed wire.
Just asking.
Yeah, you're fucking good.
Just asking.
No barbed wire, so, yeah, that's the reason it's called fence, right, it's like, so kid can't help boost another kid up, right, they may give you up to like 6, 8 feet or something right there, but they're not really. But they can't get their hands on anything to actually pull themselves off that house, because we have to keep kids safe, we can't let them just get out, so that's what the fence is for.
I have one question, because someone asked me, and they may or may not have been my child, is the fence electrified? Promise I would ask.
Can it be?
There might be a regulation on that.
I believe the market will.
So what, I don't mean to jump in front of anybody, but what kind of kids are we talking about? Ones that have come from homes that are abusive, or they have issues similar to what we see out at the ranch, but they're young? And they might harm themselves, they might do stuff where they have to be looked at in that light, where a lot of focus on them
Yeah, so,
individually.
yeah, so ideally, they can be coming from homes, they can be coming from foster care, they can be coming from a variety of places. They're kids that are experiencing whether it's self-harm or emotional distress, and our goal is to work through that. We'll have medication providers if that's their avenue, sometimes behavioral support specialists, to try to teach them to cope and to adjust to some of these, really some of the challenges they're having. With the population being 7 to 11, 7 to 12, I mean, for me as a parent, that's a hard thing to even imagine, seeing, when this program gets done, my kid's gonna be 7, and to wrap my head around it, it's just kind of mind-boggling, but our goal is to have them in there, try to provide them a home-like environment, although it'll be a treatment facility, have eyes on 24-hour wait staff, the nursing staff, the teacher, cooks, those kind of things, to provide them a home-like environment, work with the parents or wherever they're gonna be discharging to make a smooth transition back to their communities. And that's our real goal. Like I said, throughout the state, there's nothing like this. And so a lot of this stuff is gonna be exploratory, where we're gonna be being creative and having to be flexible on some certain things, but yeah, it's early onset, whether it's mental illness, unfortunately, how we're doing moving forward.
So I'm just curious, I don't know if you know or not, so this will be unique to the area, for a large geographic area. Are there, are there plans to increase these types of facilities, anywhere else in the future?
One of the big things with this, working with the state and looking at the funding is, we paused the project. A year ago, we didn't have the funds and we were gonna drop it. And the state really stepped up to the plate and said, we gotta make this happen, because it is so groundbreaking and unique. I think the goal going forward is to, create more sites like this throughout Oregon. But I think really this is groundbreaking for what we're doing. And so the state really, we said we were, money short, and they said, well, apply for a grant, when we figured it out. And so it's really been an ongoing project. Our board of directors have been incredibly supportive in getting this done. Like Carla said, this project probably started over 5 years ago. I've been with the agency 15 years, and I remember talking about it before I was in my position I'm in now. So just amazing. There's nothing like it in the state. There's a couple places, one out as Junction City, and then one in the Portland area, but really when I asked the state, I'm like, hey, give me a program to go, see or look at, and you're doing something new. So it's a pretty neat opportunity for the region.
Yeah. So how come Boardman? Why Boardman? I mean, I know how far reaching you guys are now. I mean, you guys cover a lot of ground and have facilities all over, so why here?
Good question. We, it's been in the works for a while. I think that for us being on I-84 right here and being where we can pull from Hermiston, Tri-Cities, it's something that, we've got a couple programs we're opening in a acute care facility in Hermiston. We've got some programs in Pendleton, we've got some in Pepper and John Day. We recently acquired Columbia River Ranch over a year ago, which has been a great asset for us. I was a former administrator at Columbia Ranch. I started my career here in Boardman. You know, really, community counseling solutions started in Boardman, and it started as Morrow County Behavioral Health, and we really want to keep that here in Morrow County. And I think Boardman, this is a great opportunity, you know, being able to retain them. Honestly, Boardman's a growing community. There's been a lot of growth, and it's kind of an area that we identified as a spot that this could work.
Means we need 30 more houses. They're gonna have 30 jobs.
So if this goes over well, do you see adding additional facilities for other age groups?
That's something, I mean, it's always an option. I think we've experienced so much growth in community counseling solutions. So when I started CCS, we had 11 employees, now we're 400. So we've had this trajectory of growth. Our goal is to kind of sustain our growth for a while, and, you know, we're riding the waves, getting through some of the challenges we've had with the recent growth. Our executive director and board is very aggressive, and they give us a lot of leeway to develop new things. Our biggest concern as someone that's going to run the facility is housing and staff recruitment and retention. And we've been very clear that's, you know, every business feels like struggles with that. We're always trying to do new things and trying to do things to better our communities. And I think it is an option. But those are the things we were concerned about is housing and staff retention, and we feel good about where we're at in Boardman. It's changed a lot since I've been around, but I think there is a lot of opportunity.
And so for the age group, it was 11 to 12, 10 or 12,
Yeah.
10 to 12.
Yeah.
So after they're 13, 14 or 13, and what happens?
The facility at Junction City is more for young adults in 13 to 18 range.
Okay.
And so that's why we really focus on this age group being the younger population.
So if they're continued, if they need continuing, support, there's places in the state that are.
There's a few,
Okay,
but it's just such a rarity, right? I mean, this kind of service across the state is.
Yeah.
Very unique.
I mean, if you guys can get it done in 2 years, that's awesome. You know, we all know that some people will need it for a lifetime, but, okay.
And one of the things that we have in CCS, you know, some of us know, we have a very good continuum of care. There's that 13 to 18 age group that we don't really serve. We have a transitional age group facility in Pendleton right now that serves population 17 to 21. That's kind of a unique facility out here in Eastern Oregon as well. And so we're always looking at new ways to serve our communities.
Questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commission. My name is Rick Stokoe. I'm currently the Chief of Police of the City of Boardman. My address, I'll give you my work address of 200 City Circle here in Boardman. I will tell you that we've had this discussion for a long time. I can talk about some of the questions that you had. So, Commissioner, you asked why Boardman. So I would tell you that I was probably very strong in the recruitment of this facility, trying to get something in the area, in the region, because there isn't anything in the region. At the time, Commissioner Lindsay of Morrow County was really interested in trying to relocate it in Hebner. And I support it as long as we're in the region. She went back to the community of Hebner, and they decided that they just couldn't pull the staffing levels needed in that community to staff what they're going to need for staffing. Boardman had an opportunity. They found some property here. The port's going to help in the ground process to help the project continue to move forward. So that's part of the reason that they kind of picked Boardman. Let me get into the public side of this, public safety side. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years, and I can tell you that it's unfortunate that we have to have a facility like this. It's absolutely heartbreaking that kids are in crisis at this age. At any age, but this age, it's heartbreaking. I will tell you that these kids are killing themselves, actually committing suicide at 7 years old. Heartbreaking. I've been there, I've seen it. And we're in a day and age now of social media where it's even worse. It's even worse. So we need a facility. This is a great opportunity, both for those kids, but also the fact right now, if those kids are in crisis, they're getting sent out of state. Could you imagine taking a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old away from their family, their support phase, send them to Colorado to get help, and then not have that parent there? You're taking away a big portion of their support. They need those parents and family members to be able to be close to them. So sending them out of state just doesn't work, but it's the only alternative that the state has. Defense, a little bit about defense. So yes, it's to keep the kids in, but they're kids. We want to make sure that they're safe. So we want to keep people out of there as well.
Yeah.
We don't want people that shouldn't be in there. So it's protect the kids. That's what it's about. I've worked with CCS now for 13 years, great organization. We have a very strong working relationship with our local law enforcement and community counseling. When we find an issue, we talk it out, we get it fixed. Great organization. I could sit here and talk all night about this. I'm so sick of kids killing themselves or hurting themselves because they don't have the support that they need. Rather than go into a long thing, I'm willing to answer any questions from a public safety stance that you might have. And if there's anything I can do to facilitate getting this moving forward.
So we're clear, I didn't ask that question, Boardman, why Boardman, because I wanted you to go somewhere else. I just wondered what your thought process was in choosing Boardman, and you fully answered that. I'm completely in support of it in any way, shape, or form if it helps kids.
I just wanted to elaborate.
Yeah.
I can't, trust me, I was calling Kimberly every other week. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Then the money fell through, and it's like, what can we do to get the money? So, but
I just want to say I don't have any questions, because I'm seeing this in the past and I feel fully informed on it. So appreciate your time.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the application? Is there any neutral testimony? Hearing none, nothing to refuse. The public testimony portion of this hearing is closed. Staff, do you have any questions or comments, concerns?
No,
Mr. President? Okay. Discussion time from the commission.
I'm all for it.
I'm very much in favor of this personally.
This is right over by UEC, right? By us?
Just south of that.
Yeah.
Alternative court in the cul-de-sac, yeah. Which I can't stop thinking of it as Booster Ridge.
I know, always be discouraged in my own too, yeah. And then while I'm out there, it still says discouraged. So we're working on that, but it's hard to get Google changing.
I'm very much in favor of the application, though. I very much agree 100% with everything that was said. I think it's sort of needed. Very hard to find care like this anywhere else, and I think it's something that parents and guardians would jump at the chance to have someone in their care
carry forward those sort of this. Pretty unique opportunity for our community, I think.
Any other thoughts, concerns, questions?
You know, as I think Carla stated earlier during the staff report, we had listened to a variance maybe a couple years ago for this facility, and it had overwhelming support. I just like to reiterate that this is something that's needed in the region, but I fully support this.
Liam? Ragnar, any thoughts, concerns, questions?
Pardon me, did you say something to me?
I just didn't want to go past you if you had any questions or concerns or thoughts.
No,
on
I'm
that.
fine. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Good. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the site design for RV, no. For the Berkeley Community Counseling.
24 dash oh.
It was RVW,
Oh, it was.
it's review.
Actually, they have the same number except for the year, 23.
Yeah.
I second that.
Okay, there is a motion and a second, call for vote.
Commissioner Carberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes, thank you.
I said it right this time, Commissioner Layton,
Yes.
Commissioner tonight,
Yes.
Commissioner Irons,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bracy.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
So you don't have to stick around, but we have a housing forum that we are working on here in Boardman. And so I will definitely be working with Brandon to reach out to you. We need 30 people, we need 30 houses, and we're working on it. So we're gonna invite you to the table.
Absolutely.
You can send it really if you want, but. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Yeah, have a great night.
And again, we'll get your documents out in the next month. Thank you.
Open code audit time?
Yeah. So I know that many of you have been on the, for those of you that have been on the commission for any length of time, you've had conversations about what needs to change in the development code. And sadly, I think you had a lot of conversations and there wasn't a lot of action over the last number of years. And honestly, you know, me being here just a few hours a day, it didn't happen either. But I'm here more now. We have Nancy and we actually had OTAC, their consulting firm, come on board and work with us to do an audit of the development code. So all those color pages, although I think you've got black and white, so you don't see the color. Those pages that follow the memorandum was Nancy and I sitting there with the consultants. And literally we went through every chapter and we talked about what works, what doesn't work, where it should really be in the code, what we need to add to the code, how we need to reorder the code. I don't think that the format, the formulation is gonna change a lot because it's a pretty standard format. But I think what's in it is gonna have the potential to change a lot. Just because we completed it and we left you out of the audit, doesn't mean you guys aren't gonna have a whole lot of input into what goes on when we get to the actual changes. We're still talking about how we wanna execute those changes. Do we want it to be done by staff? Do we wanna figure out where we can come up with $100,000 to actually have a consultant do it? Do we want, I mean, there's a couple of different things that we've been bouncing around about how we actually execute the changes that we know need to happen. We also have a municipal code. And there are some things in the municipal code that touch on planning or touch on the processes in one way or another, or it's related. And so one of the next things we're gonna do is internally, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna look at the development code and go through a very similar kind of audit of the municipal code like we did the development code. And we also want to kind of have this crosswalk conversation about, well, are there things in the development code that really would be better served in the municipal code? And should we move them? And are there things in the municipal code that should be in the development code? And should we move? So there's a lot of thought process that's gonna go on. And we actually get into this, this is not something that's gonna, there's not gonna get done overnight. This is probably, in talking, I did talking to one consultant and I said, so give me a ballpark figure and give me a timeline. And that's where the $100,000 came from, and I think that's very easily on the low side. And I'm thinking somewhere probably between $100,000 and $150,000, and it's probably 18 months. I mean, reasonably, it's minimum a year, and probably by the time you actually got through the process, did all the work, and then got through the adoption process, you're probably looking at, 15 to 18 months before we would get done with this. So I want to hit the highlights with you tonight. We want to kind of close the book on the audit and then move forward to whatever's coming next. You've seen it before, you got it in this month, so except for maybe Jamie and David, who's not here this evening. This is not, you've seen it before, you had the opportunity to look through the audit, and now here we are to talk a little bit. So you identified a lot of just kind of general changes. Some of those general changes are things in the right chapter. And one of the things is who's actually responsible for the development code. It says city manager, and yes, the buck stops with them, but we have a growing program, and is it better to actually identify them as the planning official? The numbering of the chapter subsection. We're now doing Citizen Serve, which is our online application portal, and we want to make sure that the development code is in sync with the online portal. If there's disconnects between the two, we need to figure out what those are and kind of fix them. And that may mean changes to Citizen Serve, it may mean changes to the development code. Interestingly enough, some of the documents actually say City of Weston, not in the document, but in the document properties. And that goes back to the fact that somebody wrote a model code, and then somebody applied it to, Tom City, and then Sam City copied it, and then Joe City copied that. Pretty soon it all still all reversed back. I will say, at least with the Boardman code, it doesn't actually say Weston in the code. There are communities when you read their TSPs or the development codes, it'll actually say the city of Sam when you're in the city of Joe, so that can be frustrating. So there's some other things about that, and then when we got into chapter 1, again, you probably looked through this, but we want a more comprehensive table of contents. We want to make sure that our section numberings are consistent so that we're reading the same thing. There's a sub-chapter that's how to use the development code. There's some things we wanted to look at there. We know that, so you'll see in here all the way through, we say read for GPRF, and that stands for grammar, punctuation, readability, and formatting. Because through the whole development code document, there's an awful lot of that. You read it and go, I don't know what it says. What does that mean? So, we want to try to figure out if we can eliminate that lack of clarity. We want to become more clear and more transparent. And another thing is that the world of planning relative to clear and objective standards or criteria has become much more of a standard out there. And so there are some places where, it's like the decision tonight for the regional youth facility. Could that have been a staff level decision? Well, maybe, but maybe not. And I think one of the things that that you're gonna need to think about as the body that makes policy recommendations to the council to adopt in the final version, is when we look at our different use zones, do we want to be more prescriptive or less prescriptive about what kind of uses are allowed? Do we want to be more prescriptive or less prescriptive about some of the design standards? I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we can get more clarity on, a lot of things. When we move into the land use districts, and we've got residential, commercial, and there's a lot of language in here. We actually put a lot of things into this about how to change and how not to change. But like in the residential district, we haven't addressed accessory dwelling units yet in our development code. We need to do that. We haven't addressed cottage clusters, and we need to do that. You know, in our commercial district, I read the commercial district and I just get confused because we've got this downtown, the downtown kind of core thing. It's like, well, the applicant can choose to meet these standards. What does the applicant get to choose if they have to meet the standards? They either have to meet them or they're not there. So there's just, as you read through the whole thing, we actually have a port industrial sub-district zone. I can't figure where, I don't know where it applies. I have no idea. I haven't found the map that tells me where that sub-district applies. It's not mapped anywhere. So we need to figure out where it needs to apply so we can actually apply it, or we need to remove it. I mean, these are some of the things that, again, when I sat down, Nancy hadn't been here very long. I mean, she walked in on like the second week, we're having these conversations with the consultant. She's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But I've been here almost, a year and a half. It was like, there's all kinds of stuff in here that doesn't make sense. We've got to figure it out. And I did have a couple of lists that I did find that Gary had written about, we need to change these things, or we need to change that. And where we had those, we incorporated them into the audit as well. He had some good ideas. And I think some of those ideas were from conversations that you guys had over time about things that needed to change. One of the things that we've defined is that we've got these provisions to do the floodplain overlay zone and the master plan development, but there's no mechanism to map them. So if you think about chapter 2, the things that are outlined in chapter 2 are about the things you find on the map. And then the things in chapter 4 are how you approve those things. So, but for the Boardman code, those were all done in chapter 4. And that's what, when I came on board, the Tidewater project was all but done. But I kept trying to figure out how Barry approved it based on how the code was written. And the code is not helpful to figure out how to have it happen. It's also not helpful to, once it's done, what do you call it on the map? Because there's nothing in chapter 2 that tells you what to call it on the map. So I was trying to address.
Imagine in 2 weeks coming in.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 is the design standards. Good basic standards. But again, as you read the 2 staff reports tonight, did you get confused because we talked about stormwater and then 2 pages later we talked about stormwater, and then 3 pages later we talked about, guess what? Stormwater. So we need to figure out where we're going to talk about stormwater and kind of one and done. I mean, we don't need to talk about it 3 times. We have standards, we need to apply the standards, we don't need to reapply the standards. And then my concern is that sometimes the standards about how we get there. So we need to have one standard in one place and that's what we apply. But this is also part of the conversation that I go, well, is stormwater management, there's a portion of stormwater management that is a development component. This is when you develop, this is what you have to do. But there's a bigger part of stormwater that once it's in place, this is how you manage. And I think we have done a whole lot on the development side and literally left the maintenance part of it out of the equation. So those are the things where we're talking about how we crosswalk them between what's in the development code and what's in the municipal code. And part of the conversation we had is, if this is a development code, then it needs to be about development. And one of the things that kind of is counter to that is we have standards for home-based businesses in here. Well, that's probably post-development. If you're already in your home, you're not going to buy your home to run a home-based business. You're gonna live in your home, and then at some point in your life go, gosh, I can do part-time bookkeeping out of my extra bedroom because the kids have left. Well, okay, but is that a development code issue or is that a municipal code issue? That's really about how we're regulating things after it's built. And it doesn't require a permit. And the question is, should it? We want to know. Now, we are in the process of implementing a business license program, and maybe that's adequate. But if we have standards for how a home business is supposed to operate, and we don't capture that in the business license program, then we've got standards that are probably working counter to each other. What we should have is a business license program that says, oh, and by the way, if this is a business license for a home-based business, here's the standard you need to meet. Those are the kinds of things that, what do we need to pull out of here and put over there? What can we shrink? What do we need to grow? Those are all the questions that have been going through my mind over the past now 2 years. Chapter 5. Well, chapter 4 is the how do you do it chapter. It's how do you do conditional use permits, how do you do site review, how do you do development review, how do you do land divisions and lot lines and subdivisions, how do you do conditional use permits, master plan, floodplain, and then modifications to those, text amendments, map text amendments, code interpretation. And then the whole chapter 4.9 is about miscellaneous permits. And those probably really need to be where they need to be. They need to be, if you're gonna allow a temporary use, then those standards should be where you would allow that temporary use. Are you allowing that in a residential zone, are you allowing that in an industrial zone? So we identified we need to move some of those into more appropriate locations. Chapter 5 is our variances chapter and our non-conforming uses chapter. So they're not bad, but you'll think back, it seemed like the first 6 public hearings I had in front of you guys were variances for houses that suddenly grew and outgrew their footprint, and we had to authorize a variance. So Jamie, you have personal experience with this. We had to do a variance to allow the house to get through the sales process because the contractor didn't measure the setback lines quite right. But we did those variances, but to be honest, our variance criteria doesn't really fit that. We didn't really have a mechanism, kind of made it fit. So one, we don't want that to happen anymore, but things like that are going to continue to happen, and we need to have a variance mechanism that we can actually do that and do it in a reasonable way. And then chapter 6 has never really been used. It has to do with map amendments. And it's not that we haven't done map amendments, but we cover about how to do plan and map amendments in 4.7. And chapter 6 says, well, you're gonna house all your map amendments here. Well, they haven't been housed there, and they're housed with Amanda. Amanda is the keeper of all things changing as the city recorder. So there's no reason to clutter your development code with map changes when you didn't have a map. It's the current map, and that's what everybody can look at and see. And if they really want to know what the map said 24 years ago, call Amanda and she'll pull it out for you and let you see it. So that's kind of, I went through that really fast, and I'm doing that because I really want to be respectful of our time. I mean, it's 10 to 9, and I want to make sure we get out of here in a timely manner and can all get a good night's sleep.
So we're gonna delete the map.
Yeah, and then we can delete our hometown. So my only question to you is, I want to know like what you were pulling up over there.
Oh, just the way, how fast you can talk about, code stuff, still blows me away. And it just, I try to follow as fast as I can. And I'm sure it'll come easier, but I get to a point where I'm like, just reset and start following from this point forward. Because I don't keep up with all of it. I honestly, I gotta be honest with you about it. I mean, I understand it completely. If I sit here and read it, I understand it completely. You have a great way of explaining it in a I've been here a long time manner. And I know what I'm talking about, and I hope you follow along.
Well, you do know at any point in time you could do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
But I can follow along in the print, which is fine. So as long as I have that, I'm good.
All right. So part of my objective in putting this audit in front of you as well, and this was you, Ragna, and you, Sam, online, is to I don't want you to think we're trying to move through this without including you all. You will definitely be included in this process. Again, I don't have a full view yet of how we're gonna actually engage, kick this off, and move to an actual update of the development code. We still need to figure that out. I mean, some of it is about how we, if we're gonna use the consultant model, where does that money come from, and when does that budget allow for that? If we're gonna do it internally, we have more capacity than we've had in the past, but we're still pretty busy with projects, and the development code is one of, a half a dozen documents that we've identified that need to be updated over the next. If Brandon's gonna have it this way in the next 6 months, realistically, I've gotten to understand that it's at least a 3-year, if not a 5-year kind of timeline to get through what we need to get through. So as we're going through things and you see concerns, as future applications come in front of you and you see things in the staff report and you going, why did we ask this question this way? Or why is this criteria applicable? If you look at those things through the view now, if we could change the code, if we could change the standards that are applicable. Look at the application, the standards that we have are applicable now to what we approve. But I would ask you to start looking at those things through that secondary lens of, if we could change the criteria, what would we change? And feel free to make those notations, and at the end of the planning commission, throw your packet back at me with, hey, I made these 3 notes on here about things that I think could be different in the development code if we looked at it. We'll take those back, we'll put them in the file, we'll keep those things moving on, and we'll incorporate those thoughts. This is kind of the first cut of what I call sticky note approach. I just start writing sticky notes and putting it on the actual paper development code I keep in my office of, this doesn't work, this doesn't make sense, what does this word mean? We need to better define this. And that definition chapter is a really important part, because you often, if your development code is unclear, you go back to your definitions. If it's not defined in your definitions, then you go to Webster's. And that's the progression that you go in. So knowing that we have a clear definition of what we mean, if it's not just a common known word, is important as well. So anyway, I'm gonna stop there on that particular agenda item. Any comments you have as of now, please throw them at me.
I remember talking to Mary about this years ago, about to-do list.
Yeah. What I will tell you is I do think the to-do list is finally getting the recognition that it needs, and it's gonna get done.
Would be good.
Yeah, I agree.
There are a lot of issues.
Yes. Yes. And, when we get this process and we kick it off, again, I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like, but, we were probably gonna put together some type of TAC or PAC acronym, which means either technical advisory committee or a public advisory committee. I don't think we need both. I think we just need one. We can choose what we want to call it. For quorum issues, we can't have you all. We'll invite, and we can have that conversation in the planning commission meeting. We'll invite 1 or 2 of you to participate in that. We'll probably invite if there's a city councilor who has an interest, we would invite them to participate. And then we'll reach out, if there's a community member or 2 that might have an interest as well. And as we work through different sections of the code, we'll look at it from that kind of that technical advisory committee. When we're talking about the residential zone, we're probably gonna want to reach out to the developers who are developing. What makes sense in our development code? Same thing on the industrial or the commercial side. Kind of what makes sense? We'll ask those people who are doing that kind of work in our community. We'll look at the model code, the state has a model code. We'll look at the codes of the communities and the nearby communities and see what's working for them. I'm all for making it more simple, less cumbersome. I'd rather start, I hate saying no, but sometimes you have to. I'm not a big fan of saying no, and sometimes you have to. And figuring out, when you do, is there a way to get around a no? Is there a way to get through a no? I don't know, but you know, those are there's a myriad of questions that we'll have, and we'll get to work sessions with you guys, you know, we'll get chapter 1 kind of done, or we'll get the definitions done, and we'll throw them at you and say, okay, you know, get your red pencil out. Tell us what you think.
I'm good with the red pen.
Okay,
Awesome, thank you. Do you have anything else to report, by the way?
yeah, I have a couple of things under the planning official report. So one of those things is I did forward to you all today, an email from Tamara Babbitt. She is the county planning director. They, next Tuesday, February 27th, starting at 6 p.m. and there is a Zoom link in, if you go into the agenda, there is a Zoom link in there. And they have both, Gordon Howard and Don Hurt. Gordon Howard is, at the Department of Land Conservation Development. Gordon is the Community Services Division Manager, and Don Hurt is our Eastern Region Representative. I don't know who's going to do most of the speaking, but also attached on the, to that email are the PowerPoint slides. I flew through them. I did not look at them closely, but I flew through them. And I will say they are well done. There's a lot of good information in there. And I don't know who's going to do the lion's share of the presenting. I will try to ascertain that over the next several days, and I'll send you out another email or a follow-up to that. If it's Gordon Howard and you have a case of insomnia, please join. They'll put you to sleep in no time at all. Nice guy, but oh my gosh. Yeah. If Dawn's doing the presentation, I've not heard her do this presentation, but Dawn is a previous city planner. She was at the city of Dallas for many years. She's been in her DLT role now about 2 years, I think. Yeah, about 2 years. She started about the time I started the Stanfield project, so that's about 2 years ago. So she's been doing that about 2 years. I think her presenting this information I think she would be really good at it. So if I can find out who's doing the presentation, I'll let you know. It's not required. Please don't feel like I'm telling you, you'll have to join the meeting and listen to this. I'm not saying that. But I think for those of you that have been doing this for a while, it might be a really good refresher. Jamie, for you and David, I think it could be a really good introduction. But I will also tell you, as somebody that you've been to 2 meetings, one by Zoom or, you know, whatever it is, you're gonna hear about 90% of it and go, I don't know what they said. But 3 or 4 meetings after that, you're gonna go, oh, now I get it. And a couple meetings after that, you're gonna go, oh, now that makes sense. And you're gonna go back to the PowerPoint slides. I would also, if you're interested, and we're happy to print them if you want them, or if you have the ability to print them yourself, those binders that you have, print it and put it in there. Because I think it's something that you can refer back to. And if you all decide that you really don't want to listen to Gordon and Dawn, but you'd like me to run through these slides, I'm happy to do that too. So we can certainly schedule that at some future plan commission meeting.
And this is gonna be in Oregon, physical location?
This meeting will actually be in Hefner, but it's available by Zoom.
Okay.
And it's all about,
What we do.
okay.
And they do go quite a bit into, well, it's just a lot of interesting things in there. There's some history about land use they're gonna touch on. They're gonna touch on a little bit about statute, the rule, the goals. They're gonna talk about hearings process, the role of the chair, the role of the commission, the script that we've been providing. They're gonna talk a little bit about why you should have a script. They're gonna go through the things in that, the burden of proof, the raise it or waive it, the impartial tribunal, which is what you all are. They'll get into ex parte and bias and site visits, so there's a lot that they're gonna cover, so.
Riveting.
Like I said, I have insomnia, join. The last thing I want to just touch on briefly is, the work program that we're working on relative to planning. And next meeting, I'll actually share this document with you. But we've identified that we need to update. I know, so this morning. We need to, update our comprehensive plan, we need to update our development code, we need to update our municipal code, we need to update our transportation system plan. We need to make some updates to our Main Street interchange area management plan. We've recently done our Port of Morrow IMP, so that's actually fairly current. And then there's actually a document called the Main Street Downtown Development Plan, which I think I also provided to all of you in your binder. And even though it's 20 years old, the concepts are pretty cool in there, but we've got some street standards that we need to surgically remove from that particular document. In order to update all of that, or some of those specifically, there are some additional documents that we need to create. So we need to do a housing needs analysis. Back in 18 and 19, the county, when I was still at the county did a process, entered into agreement with all 5 cities, and we did a countywide buildable lands inventory and housing needs analysis for housing. What's really interesting is when you look at the Boardman specifics in that document, particularly when you look at multifamily housing, it said that for a 20-year land supply, we needed 144 units of multifamily housing. That was a little over the first phase of Portview. And then there's a second phase of Portview, and now we've got Tidewater. And when you add all of that up, it's 120 and 240 and another 144, so 240, 340, 380, 384, just in those multifamily units. That doesn't include the 4plexes over here, or the 2 threes and the 4plex for the 10 apartments on one lot. That doesn't count for those. That's 384 just with that. Now, they're not all open yet. I mean, Tidewater's still under construction for the last street, but we've blown through our housing needs analysis. So we're working to update that, to work with the consultant to update that document, but make it just report, just do an report. We've also identified that inside the city limits, we don't have enough available industrial land. We have enough commercial land because we've got 64 acres on the other side of Main Street, but we don't have enough industrial land. So, but to do an urban growth boundary expansion for housing or for industrial land, you have to have these documents to say you have a need. So for the industrial land, you need to do an economic opportunities analysis. And that'll also have a buildable land inventory related to, and we're gonna do it for all employment lands, commercial and industrial. We're working on the business license ordinance. We don't have an addressing ordinance. We don't have anything in our municipal code or our development code that tells us why is that north, why is that, I mean, some of it is obvious why that's north and why that's south, but there's nothing that has really told us why we should address the way we do. So we're gonna do an addressing ordinance, and then I see our parks director has arrived. We're working on a parks master plan.
Nice.
Yeah, so, actually, I should say we're not working on a parks master plan yet. We're working on funding to do a parks master plan. So we're trying to figure that out and we're moving that forward. So, the exciting thing is that, you know, things never happen the way you want them to happen. But when they happen, you kind of have to go with the flow, right? You have to, like gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? So last cycle, we applied through the TGM program, the Transportation Growth Management Program, for a grant to update the TSP. We didn't get it, but we were highly encouraged to apply again. And we did, and we got it. So it's probably just shy of $250,000 worth of investment in ODOT in our transportation system. It's a 2000, it was really adopted in 98. It was amended in 2001, and it's just woefully out of date. It predates the 2 interchange area management plans. And it just really, it's just an awful lot it doesn't envision. And so we've gone through the scoping process with that. We are moving now into consultant selection. And because it's going to be less than a quarter $250,000, it will be a simpler process. We should have a consultant team on board hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and be kicking this project off before the second quarter of the year. So that's my hope. We'll see how all this happens. There'll be a lot of staff and consultant work at the front end of that, but there will also be a TAC or a PAC. I think we decided it would be a PAC in the scope. So we'll be reaching out and asking folks like, Mr. Scheimer and others in the community to participate on that, as well as one planning commissioner, a city council member, to work through that transportation system plan update. So, I will say that there's also, ODOT has funds, and they're gonna be doing an interchange area management plan for the Tower Road interchange. So those two transportation projects will be kind of going on simultaneously, both with, a time frame of about 15 to 18 months from initiation to completion, so. I don't know when we actually get to update the actual comp plan. We'll do that once we have the housing needs analysis and the economic opportunities analysis, parks management plan, and we're also, the county has started an update to the natural hazards mitigation plan. There's been staffing changes at the Department of Land Conservation and Development. That project has been sidelined, but that will eventually come back up. That will be an input to our comprehensive plan under goal 7. Which is the natural hazards goal, and then the parks management plan will be an input to the comprehensive plan for goal 8, which is the recreation goal. So I think the updated comprehensive plan is out there a ways, because we need those other documents to help inform it. But it may be that we decided to chunk off a chapter here or there as time goes, or as time allows. Again, the Boardman Development Code, we've done the audit, we want to do a similar audit with the municipal code, and then we're still trying to figure out how we want to fund that and actually accomplish those changes, but those are on the, again, to do on a to-do list. I can really appreciate your comments, Zach. We need to get them done, is what we need to do. So 3 years is kind of my goal here to be into all of this, maybe not done with all of it, but well into all of it. Again, the transportation system plan, they landed, we know where that's happened, how we want to look at that. We actually have the funding to do the transportation system plan. The Main Street IMP is going to be kind of collaborative with the TSP update. We've been doing some work about Main Street, we'll inform the TSP. The Porter IMP has been recently done, and then the Main Street downtown development plan is going to be, again, just some surgical things to remove some standards. One of the things we have, and this is not unique to Boardman, this happens in every community. You adopt your TSP, and then you adopt your development code. And then you adopt an interchange area management plan, or maybe a refinement plan. And every one of them has a road standard in it. And guess what? Every one of those road standards is different. It might be for the same road, but the standard's gonna be different, and that's something that we've got going on here in Boardman. Is it a 50-foot right of way or a 60-foot right of way? Well, I don't know, depends on what plan you read. So we're gonna eliminate those standards where we can. And we're gonna move them to be in one place. And the one document that's really Rolls document, and yeah, he's still on there, the really Rolls document, which is the public works standards. That's where a lot of the standards that we're talking about are gonna end up. What kind of curves do we want? What kind of gutters do we want? How wide is the street? We're gonna have one standard is gonna be in one, well, we'll have multiple standards, but they're all gonna be in one place, and that's gonna be in the public works standards. And when we're looking at it from a development perspective, we're gonna say, yeah, you gotta build a street, and the city engineer and the public works director will tell you what standard it is, and you'll find that standard and how you build it in the public works standards.
I like it.
Simple, straightforward. So,
So is the TSP the one that's gonna have the package associated with it?
well, they will all have some level of cap or tax associated with them, every one of them will. So don't feel left out, if you don't get picked to be on the TSP pack, believe me, there will be another opportunity for you as a planning commissioner to be involved in something. So you might wanna think about what intrigues you and what you wanna get involved in, because the opportunity is coming. To a planning commission near you. So.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, the only other thing I will say is that we recently had some great conversations internally and with an applicant about the use of storage containers. And I don't want to get into a lot of detail, but I think we're gonna have that conversation a whole lot sooner than maybe we originally anticipated. The use of storage containers, and hopefully you know what I mean, it's oftentimes it's those things that are on trains, they move things around, but then they're cheap to build in China apparently, and they fill them with goods and ship them over here, and it's more more economic advantageous to the companies to just dump them. And so we have this excess of storage containers. If you go online and you say, houses built out of storage containers, there's really cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just want to put storage containers, you know, in the backyard or next to the business to store stuff in. And the history has been, they've not been allowed in residential areas, although, as I understand, there are some out there. They have been allowed in industrial and commercial areas, but there's really no standards. There's been no consistency in saying, but you have to have a permit, and oh, by the way, you need to paint it, and it needs to look like your building. So I think we're gonna have that conversation internally. We're gonna try to figure out what those regulations might be. There'll probably be a conversation here. I don't know if we'll get here before we get to council, or if council's gonna weigh in and something's gonna come back. I don't know how this is gonna happen. But we made the decision today that we need to deal with it sooner rather than later. Because we just are seeing storage containers pop up in a lot of interesting places. And I don't like saying no to people at the counter without really good reason. And we're gonna fix that problem.
Sir. Thank you.
I think that is all I have. We're now to public comment.
Any public comments on the internet Zoom call or audience?
Oh, you guys been around for so long, you gotta have something to say.
He was asleep.
Well, we went through this, from 85 to 95, I was on the planning commission. The chairman, we went through this and started the work and so forth. But economics is what comes into play that you cannot plan for. And so you do your best, but in the 80s, all these apartments were boarded up. Our people were looking to try to keep the lights on. And we didn't have a single building permit for 10 years. So let's throw everything out. We were standing on the freeway trying to pull somebody off of it just to get things rolling. Now we don't, it's the opposite. We can pick and choose, we can make standards that maybe we can hold to. But you can't get locked into that it has to be this way. Because things are going to be different, and they're going to be either the way they finance it, the interest rates will go high and nobody can afford it. So, the planning is, Carla's gonna give you what you need to have a book, but what we found out was it just, you gotta have some kind of way to wiggle room and to adjust to what's going on economically. And that's what we found out. And because Ray Michaels was the only store in town, and he was losing, there you go, the grocery store was further done. And all these big apartments boarded up. Now that is a eye opener. Same town we got right now.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's, I do this.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay. Any comments from the commission?
I'll agree.
All right, so about that time, I guess we're ready for adjournment.
Yeah, I think we will have a meeting in March. We actually don't have anything in the queue right now, but I just think we're gonna probably, even if we don't have an action item, I think we'll have a meeting in March. I think there's enough going on that we need to keep some conversations going.
Nothing else would be nice to have a short meeting.
Sure, that too.
Just thought.
Yes.
Okay, all right, adjourned. Thank you.
Jack, I have two things for you to sign.
Yes, thank you.